Ladies and gentlemen, the results of the test are in. And it turns out, if you open the envelope, you'll realize the truth. Patrick Mahomes, you are, in fact, Josh Allen's biological father. It's established. It can't be reversed. It can't be reversed. I'm glad you saw what I was doing there. Any daytime show will do.
Right.
I'm DK Sizzle. This is Missing the Point. I'm here with Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan after a, quite honestly, very enjoyable divisional weekend of football. I really, honestly, thoroughly enjoyed every single game. We're going to talk about every single game. We're going to talk about this coming weekend's games. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about football. It's the third to last real football show, and then maybe we'll do a Super Bowl recap, and then bang, we're off into the wasteland of no football. Ray, did you enjoy overall as a concept the divisional round of the playoffs? Did you have a favorite game? Did you have a least favorite moment? Anything really grinding your gears right off the bat before we start to really dissect this stuff?
Probably the fumble in the Kansas City Buffalo game. I think that's a rule that they may have to talk about in the offseason, or at least talk about
the touchback fumble.
I don't know if they're going to change it, but at least I don't know, but maybe at least talk about it.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, you're talking about the moment in the game where Buffalo turned the ball over, gave Kansas City great field position. Kansas City immediately broke off with a big run by Pacheco, and then they were in the red zone. I think it was a screen pass, and then a fumble out of the side of the end zone, resulting in, and we've seen this happen a couple of times this season, and it is always a little strange, a touchback and a turnover favoring the Bills. What is it that you don't like about it?
I just feel like you should be able to keep possession, but just put it at the half-yard line, and then if they get the safety, they get the safety. But it shouldn't change possession, in my opinion. But if the other team doesn't grab it, so I just feel like if they, just put you at the half-yard line, and hey, you get the safety, then you get the safety, and then you go from there. But
there wouldn't really be a safety, would there? Because you're on offense, so you're closer to scoring, and then it's a touchback because you fuck it up, right? So
yeah, that's true.
I do like the concept personally, because it's like there's only a couple of ways you can really prevent a team from scoring by the time they've gotten to the 1 or 2 yard line, scoring anything at all. Like if it's a field goal, it's a win for you most of the time in that situation. But if you get a red zone pick or a fumble, and if the fumbles, I kind of like it. It's kind of like a very honest interpretation of the rules, if you ask me. And quite frankly, there was some shit we do need to discuss as far as like tackles go in that game, because I don't think the refs had their best weekend overall, to be honest with you. I think a lot of teams could possibly have a lot of gripes. But before we get to all the ifs, ands, or buts of the Chiefs-Bills game, which obviously was sort of the crown jewel of the weekend, I'm really glad they scheduled it the way that they did, and we finished out the weekend on that. Let's take it through as we did it in chronological order on the weekend. And let's start off with the Texans-Ravens, probably definitely the most one-sided contest of the weekend. I really thought we were going to see a little bit more out of CJ Stroud. He didn't put in a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. However, I don't think the old wisdom is there, right? I don't think any of us really expected him to even get this far. I think he's got a great future in the NFL. I don't think it says anything really negative about his ability to play. I think it's a compliment to the Ravens defense, which I think have gone a little unsung this season, probably by us also. We've talked about it briefly from time to time, but realistically, they haven't really been spoken about in the same elite conversations as your 49ers, your Dallas at times, your Cleveland at times. I think they've been a little unsung this season. I think they really showed out. I think that was my reading of that game. That's like what I saw as the text of that game. Did you read it differently?
No, that's historically, that's what Baltimore has hung their hat on, right? That they've been a defense.
Of course, I was saying that. The Ravens defense is back. We love that. That's vintage.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and they had to come out with that type of performance, right? I think that I think collectively we'd have looked at them differently had it been like a 27-20 game or 23-17. We would have said, well, really, are they ready? Because, for them to be that close to Houston, can they beat whoever they play next, whether it be Kansas City or Buffalo? And obviously we know there's Kansas City, but yeah, I think that, they came out swinging. I think that Lamar, proved to, a good amount of his haters. Once again, not all, because there's always going to be some that are going to still be negative about what he does, but he dominated the game with his legs. He dominated. No, he didn't dominate through the air, but he did contribute through the air, and that's when he's at his best. Because if he's giving you 2 touchdowns with his legs and 2 touchdowns passing, you're not beating them. I don't care who you are.
I agree.
Um,
I agree. I do think that I don't know if he put exactly a rubber stamp on, like you said, like people will still say shit. I don't necessarily have an issue with Lamar, and I'm not wholly surprised that he didn't repeat like a failure in the playoffs. Like it did. I've been saying all year they look different than that. Like mainly because it was a lot of times their defense that was shitting the bed. For me though, I really do give the MVP in that game to Harbaugh, because whatever happened, I mean, I'm sure that Lamar gets leadership credit. I'm sure that he fired up the locker room. I did see an interview with him afterwards where he was like, yeah, I yelled at everybody at halftime. And I'm like, you should keep that in the locker room. Like, don't tell the media that, but like, whatever, I'm picking nits at that point.
Yeah.
I really thought Harbaugh made some coaching changes at halftime that, as much as I really like the coaching structure and the decisions that they've made in Texas, I think you saw a guy who's been a head coach for a long time coaching against a first-year head coach in the second half. And I don't think that that's any sort of I don't think it is. I just think Harbaugh really coached a masterclass in that second half. I think the team came out super motivated. I think that they tweaked some stuff in the game plan. I think that they tweaked some stuff defensively. And all of a sudden it was like the exact type of game we were expecting from the Ravens and their first appearance in the playoffs. Not to mention the fact that they had a little time off, so that you could forgive them somewhat. And I think we did discuss on this show last week, you can forgive them a little bit for a little bit of rust, right? I think you could probably chalk the first half up to that. And if we're looking ahead, I do want to talk about the Chiefs-Bills game in more detail about both teams, but just in the context of the Ravens, I would be feeling very good if I was a Baltimore fan going into this conference championship game. Definitely better than any other year you have to see the Chiefs in any round of the playoffs. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. And I think this is the first time they met in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. They've only played in the
It does seem like a fresh matchup, and like on the eye test, looking at the two names next to each other, that like ever, or just in like the Lamar. You just mean like Lamar?
No. So like in the Lamar.
Yeah. It doesn't look like, because I
don't even think historically they've played many times in the playoffs.
I don't think so either, for whatever reason. But I do think that like when you see Chiefs Bills next to each other on the slate, you're like, yeah, that happens every fucking year. So like, cool. I can't wait for the Chiefs Bills game next year. So, but like, yeah, when you look at the two, like I'm looking at the two logos right now in my notes, and it's like, yeah, you don't really see those next to each other all that often. This is an interesting matchup. And they play, different, very, very, very different kinds of football. And they both honestly are relying on their defense to get them through to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, obviously both of their quarterbacks, like that goes without saying, but I really do think because of the receiving core that Mahomes is bringing in, because of, all the factors that we've been discussing all year, I really think like if the Ravens defense plays better, I think they go through. If the Chiefs defense plays better, I think they go through. But because I think both quarterbacks are probably going to have a day, to be totally honest with you. But just in the vacuum of the Ravens, I mean, this is kind of their narrative is, this is sort of do or die for them. I think if they had gotten knocked out last round, that's it. We're all writing them off. They're never going to get there. They're never going to do it. I still think, yeah, getting to a conference championship is big, but I still think it's like Lamar, you got like you said, his haters aren't quiet yet. But if he gets to that Super Bowl, the conversation changes, So in the vacuum of the Baltimore Ravens, what's going through your mind right now?
Just find a way. Like there shouldn't be much.
Lamar seems loose. He does seem loose.
Yeah. I mean, and that's good. And I will say this: everything we were hoping to see from Michael Vick, we're seeing with Lamar.
Interesting,
especially if he ends up winning it. Because like I said, Vic was something we had never seen before. No. And it was unreal, and it was captivating every week to see him do what he did. But I think that Lamar has a chance to surpass what we thought about Vic. If he ends up winning, once again, because Vic had been to a championship game as well, before losing to Philadelphia. But I just think that he seems to be on a mission this year. To me, he was better this year than he was in his MVP season in 2019. But
speaking of the MVP, though, like, do you not think? I mean, in my head at least, I think in 2019, that was the season he surpassed Michael Vick to me. It's like Vick never got an MVP. Like he was a lot of fun to watch.
That's fair.
Just for me, I mean, I understand why a lot of people.
I think as some will say that he did regress after, so in their minds that's where it left some room for judgment. But yeah, if he wins the second MVP and then goes on to win the Super Bowl, like it's not even close.
Well, he's in a different conversation then. He's not in the Michael Vick, like,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're both fast. You know, you're both kind of scrambling QBs, so we automatically compare you. He's more in the like, okay, well, where does he rank with like, you know, is he near Aaron Rodgers or Steve Young? Like then we're getting into those kinds of conversations.
Probably.
Like, Good Old Boys Club probably doesn't want to hear it about Lamar, to be honest with you, but like that is the conversation he's going to be in, I think.
He probably passes someone like a Steve Young with this one here.
Well, it's the one Super Bowl club, I think.
Yeah,
you know, you're at least in that club. You have to be talked about in that club, at least, right? At least, especially if you do it on MVP season, like you said. I would imagine.
Right. Yeah, no, but, yeah. That's the ultimate. That would be the ultimate crowning there. And
you think that like Lamar doesn't really look like someone that they want in that conversation, though? Just saying. You know, I like doesn't play QB.
Yeah.
Doesn't play QB like they want him to play QB.
Right. I mean that's this is why with me and you, I know people probably get sick of hearing us because we're always going to touch on
that's
something.
Fucking true though, isn't it?
Like, we're always going to touch on something that people don't want to hear. But well, welcome to MTP.
You think like Jerry Jones's favorite kind of fucking QB is like a Lamar Jackson? I mean, like you think like fucking like. I just think I think it's going to be interesting to see because he's going to be undeniable if he wins the Super Bowl. He's going to like you become undeniable and you're then in the conversation and then you start to hear that shit though, right? You start to hear that like, well, the thing about like Montana was like his fundamentals, like all that bullshit starts to come out like after Lamar forces his way into the conversation. And honestly, that would be the first black quarterback to really get to the zenith of being, you have to talk about him like this. You have to. There's no like you could do whatever bullshit you wanted with Mike Vick, as talented as he was, but because of the opportunities that these guys are, getting more and more, thankfully, like these conversations are going to start to come up. Like the white guy quarterback days might be over. So it's like now we're just having these fucking conversations. I mean, it's sort of already happened with Mahomes, right? Like it happened a little bit with Mahomes, but for some reason, maybe you can explain to me and the listeners why people are a little bit more comfortable letting him in the club. I wonder why.
Well, I mean, we know why. Like I said, with him, obviously, yes, he has, a black parent, but obviously with him having, him being a biracial child, with him having, a Caucasian wife, there's a lot of things that go into it.
Yeah. I mean, we're not doing erasure here, and
to be fair, he looks the part. I'm not like it's not a nonsense. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
he looks the part.
The State Farm commercials, he's
right. Exactly. Come on, Auto, put your jersey on. Like it just so. Yeah. Lamar is me.
Right.
Lamar is me.
Right.
We got the hair and the scruffy facial hair. It's just like I don't know. May be cool, but it's like not cool enough to be on that level.
Like Coach Carter's kid was a great basketball player in his own right, but like he wasn't facing the same issues that the rest of the team were facing, right? I mean, that's the lesson we learned from that movie. So right, exactly. Here we are. Here we are still talking about it to this day. No, I mean, look, it's not a secret that the NFL has this issue, and I think that like it would just be an interesting barrier to see kicked down. Like, and I like the idea of that narrative happening. So I like the idea of Lamar Jackson getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. Like I like the idea of Lamar Jackson's face being the one that says, "I'm going to Disneyland." It's like right. I love that. Like right into your home, ma'am. Like right there in the middle of Wisconsin, Lamar's on the TV being like, "I'm the dude." And I like that idea, I think it fucks with a lot of people. So I think that's cool. So I hope that happens. I think the Ravens look like the most adult team of the weekend. I think that they, as far as handling your business goes, I think the Ravens were far and away the team that went out and handled their business. They may not have had the toughest challenge, but they definitely did exactly what we asked of them. And I don't think that they really should face any criticism this week from any talking heads.
Right.
But I enjoyed that conversation about Lamar. Let's talk, and I've been really looking forward to this. Let's talk about the 49ers and the Packers.
Mhm.
I need to address specifically with you. I'm sure you've been absorbing the content since that game as I have, scrolling the videos, listening to the conversations. Uh, can I actually say as a quick aside, is it just me or do you in your algorithms get videos of like people's girlfriends recording them watching their team losing and like freaking out? That like loss porn is gross. Like, don't do that to your husband or boyfriend, first of all. Like, don't do that. Because like it shows a fundamental lack of understanding about what sports is, which I guess is like fine for the fairer sex a lot of the time, but like
Yeah.
you're legit catching me at my lowest moment.
Right.
Like you're catching me at the saddest I'll probably be that year when my team loses it when they had a chance to win. Right.
So
And like you're gonna
yeah.
put that shit on the internet? Like, fuck you, lady. I don't like those videos, like whatsoever. Did you see that one of the Bears fan? I think he's a stand-up comic, actually.
Yeah, no, I was just about to bring it as his name is
Yeah.
Deion Bro.
Yeah.
Yo. And he's like, what
I've
do you
known you
think?
for like 6 months. This has been my team for like 32 years. I'm like, I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, he's just as hardcore Bears as you are, man. Like, he's fucking hilarious too.
Yeah, and I agree with
Love
him.
the
I
skits.
agree with
Love the
him.
skits.
I don't appreciate these women putting us out there like that. And
Like, it's just a game. He's like, it's just a game. What are you talking about?
Game. Fuck are you talking about? It's just a game. Anyway, listen, here we are doing a sports podcast. Obviously, we feel that way.
Man, I love it.
But obviously, my point being, obviously, we've been absorbing a lot of the content like post these games, and like it really is fun in the divisional round because it's so narrowed down. You know what I mean? You're talking about 8 teams and 8 fan bases still left in there showing their personality. Like who's annoying, who's not, what kind of trauma have they suffered recently and like across the course of their lives? Like, are you getting like wholesome Lions content where like the guy's 900 years old and he's in the stands and he's never seen them even win one playoff game, never mind 2.
Like, awesome. Well, no, he was. I know the guy you talk about. They say I guess he was there. I mean, damn, he was there for Bobby Lane. I'm like,
oh yeah. He was.
I'm like that.
Saw it
So I'm like, imagine telling him he probably was maybe 19 or 20 at the time. Imagine telling him, "Oh, the Detroit's not gonna get back here." He probably was like, "Man," he said, "We're great, we're awesome."
Yeah,
with Bobby Lane.
Yeah,
we're gonna run the 60s, and then it just never came back.
It just never came back. I mean, he got to see Barry. That's pretty much it though. Megatron, I think, would have been cool for a minute, but really, there's not a ton of upside in that capacity. So we're all loving him. We're all seeing the old man, and everyone's like, I feel for these guys. I've been enjoying the Lions, even though they're in my division. We always shit on them, so I know I don't have like that deep divisional hate for them. I'm kind of happy to see it.
Yeah.
And Eminem's from there, and he's been popping up, being happy about it. I'm like, that's my era. And I'm just like, this is cool. I enjoy the Lions doing good. The Packers, on the other hand, I have been enjoying their loss porn a little bit. Like
I wonder why.
Their fan base. I mean, they have to slink back to Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm not even 100% sure they have an orange theory there yet. I can't be trusted to even know what kind of a place Green Bay is. I imagine it's just the Packers and nothing else. Like, I've never heard of anything interesting coming out of there. I've never heard of anything interesting coming out of there. So, of course, the Packers fucking lost. They lost to a superior team. But what's really been annoying me in absorbing this content is this fucking Brock Purdy sucked and Jordan Love fest still, even though Jordan Love was objectively fucking terrible in that game. Like, I would venture to say the worst QB performance of the weekend was going to Mr. Jordan Love. And
he had the worst ending.
Yeah, even relative to expectations, he threw a horrific interception at the end of that game. And I really think that the only reason he's been getting so much fucking love, no pun intended, and the Packers have been getting so much love is everybody picked them as their dark horse team. It was so fashionable for 2 weeks to go, oh yeah, man, this young plucky Packers team, man, they've just drafted so well. Let's do a deep dive into this general manager, or this assistant GM, and let's talk about Jordan Love. He learned from Aaron Rodgers. And this conversation, I don't know if you know this, has been driving me up the fucking wall. I'm full on a borderline The Shining listening to this. So the satisfaction of knowing what I know to be true, which is like, you don't get to have a QB like come out of nowhere like this and throw to a bunch of rookie wide receivers against the fucking 49ers and go to the fucking conference championships. You don't get to do that. That's not how football works. And San Francisco, here's what really happened if you're looking at it. San Francisco put on the worst performance they possibly could have in a playoff game. and they still didn't lose. That's the Packers' fault. That's the Packers' fault for dropping fucking balls. Like Brock Purdy threw 2 interceptions that didn't get picked off.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, you didn't pick them off, dude. You didn't fucking get the job done. But yet, because they were everybody's fucking hot take, they don't get beat with that same stick, right? What's up with that, Ray? Dude, tell me from a non-biased perspective. I mean, I know you're high on them too. I don't mean you. I mean like Skip Bayless, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, with all that considered, it was wild. Objectively, they were a drive away.
100%. They were, yeah, they were.
You know what I'm saying? And,
because the 49ers put on a shit show, though.
Right, yeah, no, for sure. But I'm like, part of that is I mean, besides what happened the week before, I mean, that defense showed up against Dallas. But I do think, like I said, yeah, they became the sweetheart pick right away, and because of that, they were getting the brunt of the coverage, and I think some people just wanted to be proven right. But listen, they exceeded expectations by far. For them to be they've been in playoff mode for a month. So they've been in playoff mode for a month. I thought that Kansas City game earlier in the season was the game that things changed for Jordan Love, and he started to become a bit more formidable at that position. But yeah, he reverted back to once again, like Mike said in the chat the other night. He farved it, and my only disappointment was that we didn't hear rants on the radio or on TV saying, this isn't Detroit, man. You can't just I wanted to hear that so badly because I felt like it was that type of moment. Because you can't say, oh, you did a sweetheart pick, but I'm like, you can say they're a sweetheart pick, but I'm like, at the end of the day, they were a great drive away from being in there. So they didn't make enough plays.
Yeah, but they needed San Francisco to lay an egg, though. Like,
so yeah,
they needed San Francisco to fucking suck. Like, I just think that there's a big difference between a team coming in and asserting their will on another team and a team coming in and kind of fucking up their first game in the playoffs a little bit and skating by. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they were still the worst team position by position on the day, the Packers. Like, they were worse. Like, Brock Purdy had one of the worst games of his whole season and still was better than Jordan Love in that game. Like, that's all I'm saying. And everyone thinks Brock Purdy's a fucking system guy and this, that, and the other. It's like,
he put on that.
Shanahan had a terrible day.
Yeah, that final drive, that's the first time where it was like, okay, I cried about my quarterback not having a signature moment. That was Brock Purdy's signature moment.
Yeah, but everybody the whole week before was betting on Jordan Love to be the one to do that, to have that moment in that game. That's what I'm saying. So they all are just feeding into their own narrative. You know what I mean?
Like, no, for sure. Because people were thinking it's gonna be a blow, but I was like, I said no. I said that team was riding high after what they did to Dallas, so they may lose, but then they're not gonna get smoked, and that's what happened. They didn't get smoked. Someone told me, like, because my brother's a San Fran fan. He's like, oh, they're gonna beat them by 15-20. I said, no, they're not. No, they're not. I said when you beat a team like that the week they played the week before, I said they're a house money team, just like Houston was. They're house money. They're not thinking of the moment. They're just like, look, we're just going to play. But like I said, I think the moment got big in that moment, and he didn't think, obviously. And then, because you clearly are not thinking when you make a play like that. So
it was a terrible throw. I mean, it's really bad.
Throw, and then it's like, now the season's over. But
that's the last throw of his season.
Yeah,
you know, like Brett Favre had a throw like that to end his career like 3 times. But really, he just he refused to not throw an interception as his last throw. There was those last 3 years. It was like, is this the year he retires? Throws an interception, season ends. Is this the year he retires? Throws an interception, season ends. Is this the year he retires? Throws an interception, actually career ends. I obviously follow this very closely. So I will just say, I think that also Dallas tripped over their own dicks in order to get the Packers into this position in the first place. I still think Dallas is a superior team to them. And I think that Dallas did what Dallas does when came out and shit the bed in the playoffs. That's what they always do. So I just think that, they ran out of luck. I really do. I think I'm not that intimidated by them going into next season. I think a sophomore slump on a quarterback like Jordan Love ending the season the way that he did with now expectations. Like, this stuff goes from hot takes to expectations in 2 seconds flat in the National Football League. And I'm looking forward to next year and the very strong NFC North. And I look forward to seeing all those motherfuckers with Caleb Williams. So now we're moving on. I enjoyed it. I'm less buoyed on the 49ers after that performance, quite frankly. Like, it was bad. So we'll see what happens when they go to play the Lions. But I mean, the Lions are on a momentum wave right here. Culture's changed. The Dan Campbell story is like happening, and they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were fueled by a narrative themselves. And I think you got to be a little scared of the team that are fueled by a narrative coming into a game against you, the team that's fueled by a narrative, right? Like the media's built up this thing. Baker, oh, they quit on him 4-7 to start the season. Oh, he came in after Tom Brady, all this stuff. They have like 50 things they can say. And then the game plays out and the better team wins, which seemed to happen basically in every game this weekend.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed the Lions' performance. I thought it was pretty good, to be honest with you. I think that the Bucs were scrappy. I think we expected them to be scrappy. I think they've been scrappy all year. But I got higher on the Lions and lower on the 49ers significantly because of this game. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, Tampa, they got every ounce of the season as well. You know, like you said, them going 4-7 and then they go 9-8. Baker Mayfield had a resurgence in this season. You know, him being the number 1 pick in 2017, and you know, he did get a playoff win in Cleveland, despite what people think about his career and making more progressive commercials than having playoff wins, obviously. But he's won a playoff game in Cleveland. He's won a playoff game in Tampa. So he's serviceable enough to get the job done. Once again, it helps when you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at your disposal. That may change this season because of they have a lot of free agents going into the off season. But yeah, Tampa once again got every ounce of their luck too. That got squeezed out of them. But Detroit seems to be on a magical run right now too.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I have a good amount of friends from Detroit because I worked with them when I was in Miami, and it's been so fun to see them on their timeline just going crazy. Hey, Erica, shout out to Erica. I was
Hello, Erica. I'm glad your team's doing well.
I know because I'm like, you know, you have a little situation, so you shouldn't be jumping up and down too much. But but I'm happy for you and that y'all are doing your thing and they're killing it out there in Detroit. So you know, hopefully for them the run continues.
Yeah,
I know how it feels.
everybody shit on them for drafting Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. They eased him in a little bit, you know, like the usage was low at the start of the season. I was a little confused as to why they drafted him so high. Just based on the position, not really based on Jahmyr Gibbs as a runner himself, especially because they also brought Montgomery in. But you know, it turns out the egg's on my face because they basically ran that.
It's really good for them. Really
yeah, I mean they ran that running back room perfectly. Like they did like kind of a little bit of load management for Gibbs, and now he's sort of just hitting his stride at the exact right time. A lot of people were predicting the Jahmyr Gibbs game. This was going to be the breakout game. It kind of was. He really ran super fucking well. He took a lot of pressure off his QB, which I think you need to in a situation where that's your quarterback. I mean, like I'm not trying to take anything away from Goff and his achievements over the weekend or so far in the playoffs. I just think that like you're now starting to look at the way the playoffs are shaping up and like who's the least good quarterback left. You know what I mean? Like just across the board, I think it probably is Goff. Of the 4 teams, I mean, maybe you can make a case for Purdy, but Purdy seems to just keep shutting everybody up every week. I guess Goff does too.
I mean, he's one of the 2 that's been to the Super Bowl. I know they lost, but
I know. Are you ever? Can you picture Jared Goff lifting a Lombardi trophy? It's weird to me. It's a weird image to conjure up.
Well, I mean, people thought they were in 2018.
Yeah,
people thought once they beat New Orleans, they're like New England's on their last leg. This team is high flying offense. It's over, and they didn't score a touchdown. So it's possible. I think he's a better version of himself now than he was then. So it's definitely possible. I don't think it'll be this year, but I do think it's possible that he could be that guy. And if that is say by happenstance that it is this year, the Ford family needs to build their statue like as soon as the game is over. Just put Goff out there put Ryan Gosling out there next to Barry Sanders and just say we love you forever, because it's just like especially what's going on with the Pistons and the Red Wings right now. They need something to hold on to badly. So
I mean that's automotive princess that owns the Lions, Sheila Hamp. She's like descended of Firestone and Ford, and she put together a good room, dude. I mean, like, did you watch that little like kind of mini documentary they did on her during the broadcast, where it was like, all right, first she hires this guy, then she hires this guy, and then she puts this in, and then they have this season, and now Dan Campbell's the fucking, the head motherfucker, and now look at him, and they laughed at him, and then it's a girl, and like I was like impressed by her, honestly. She kind of did her bit, so it was a cool little story. I think that their whole team, and honestly, I mean, not to get too sentimental about it, but I enjoy the idea of Detroit getting a win, like any kind of win. Like, to be honest, like it hasn't been this good in Detroit since fucking 8 Mile won the Oscars. So
facts.
That was a long time ago.
And then on a side note, and it's, I won't go deep into this, but just because we know what's going on out there, if they were to get to the Super Bowl, I would love if they found a way to win, or even if they didn't win it, but it's like them being in the Super Bowl, getting all that coverage. Go help out them people in Flint, Michigan. I was like, I ain't gonna go into detail, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Go into Flint, Michigan.
I could go into heavy detail, and I will. I will go into heavy detail. You gotta fix that fucking water.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, no, people know what's going on, and it hasn't changed. But yeah, figure that shit out.
Yeah, that's wild. That's still going on.
Highlight the team. That's great, but go up the road to Flint and send as many clean bottles of water as you can.
That's fucking insane. In the United States of America, you guys, should be
facts. Yeah, no, facts.
You should be fucking ashamed of yourself.
All right. Figure that shit out. So,
it's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Whoever's fucking in charge, I would like to write you a strongly worded letter. Okay. The like we talked about, the crown jewel of the football weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the Chiefs were gonna win. I could just picture if you remember when Conor McGregor fought Jose Aldo. And Jose Aldo brought his daughter on this weird Brazilian talk show, and the two of them were like talking, and the daughter was translating for Jose Aldo. And there's this clip of Conor McGregor being like, "Tell him I am his daddy. Tell him I said I am his daddy." And she's like, "I'm not going to say that." And he's like, "That's okay. He fucking knows." Like, it's just like the most heinous shit talk you've ever heard in your life. And like, Pat Mahomes isn't going to do that to Josh Allen, but man, could he? Like, I don't even really think Josh Allen is like 100% to blame. Like, I think that it probably should go around a little bit more than the less nuanced conversations are like putting it around at the moment. Mm-hmm. There was one throw where he completely fucking like just put the wrong speed on the ball, and they could have caught a touchdown pass. But additionally,
well, the throw to Diggs was fucking amazing, and Diggs should have caught that.
That's bad. I mean, it was right in his hands. It was right.
And that was, I was like, my God, like you can't.
Like the last guy you expect not to catch that ball.
Right. But ironically, because he was out yesterday, and he was kind of the chief killer a few years ago, Gabe Davis,
he makes that catch.
Yeah, he does. And I'm like, Gabe Davis is not going to be the star. He's not going to be your number one, but you need guys that aren't afraid of the moment. And he wasn't a few years ago. And I think that had he been healthy, maybe there's some catches that he makes there. It is starting to feel like early Manning and Brady, where Manning could not figure out how to beat New England and Tom. It just wasn't happening. I thought that because this time around, I thought that maybe with them being at home, they might figure that out. And it was basically a push with them losing by 3. But yeah, it's just right now, and I know it because I was a fan of the guy meeting with Brady. It was just like, I'm like, damn, I don't know if there's ever a time that Peyton Manning was going to beat him. And then obviously it happened, but it took a long time for that to happen. So it may happen at some point, but I guess it was a Sunday.
For the record, Manning does. I mean, there's some nuance, there's some buttons to this, but Manning does finish 3-2 on Brady, like all the time. Like he does finish 3-2.
Right. He does. Yeah.
So I think that ship has already sailed, though. Unfortunately, like for Allen and Mahomes, like it's like there's I do think that there's legitimate reasons why Kansas City teams have beaten Buffalo Bills teams so much recently in the playoffs. And it's not 100% to do with either Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes. But at some point, you have to be good enough at QB where the other stuff doesn't matter. Like they basically cancel each other out in the other areas. Like as much as maybe Pat doesn't have the receivers he had a couple years ago, the running game for the Bills was absolutely fucking non-existent. Like watching them try to run the ball with anyone other than Josh Allen. And this is a thing. You could just play the tape from probably the last 2 seasons saying this out loud in the Bills in the playoffs. Anyone other than Josh Allen running the ball was turgid. Like they couldn't get anything fucking going. So that's going to hurt. They didn't break off any 20+ yard plays, 0. And obviously that drop is huge, but 0 20+ yard plays. There was key moments where Pacheco broke off for runs where it was like, "Ooh, that was a loud first down. Ooh, that was a first down they really, really needed." And they didn't seem. And the thing about the Chiefs is, as much as it's okay, he doesn't have the receivers. Okay, this, okay, that. You're never going to see them get rattled when that touchback thing happens. You're never going to see a Chiefs team at this level with the victories that they've had and the leader that they have. You're not going to see them like panic when that happens. If that had happened to the Bills, I don't think that they are able to recover from that, to be honest. I think they get rocked on their fucking heels and the Chiefs drive down the field and score. But the game at the end of the day was in Josh Allen's hands to win. It was in his hands to win the game. The Stephon Diggs drop. And listen, I don't think you should be fucking bitching about your usage, sending media signals all fucking season, complaining when the fucking offense isn't going right, and then dropping that fucking pass when the chips are down. Because in the era we grew up in when we were kids, the best wide receivers we had went by the name of Randy Moss, went by the name of Calvin Johnson, went by the name of Terrell Owens. All 3 of those guys are making that catch 100 times out of 100. Like 100 times out of 100.
Oh, and all 3 actually might have scored.
Oh no, I'm a dude. Goes without saying. Like if
Martin Carter and they scored after that, so it's just like crazy.
I could probably name from that era. I could probably name you 7 wide receivers that nobody would argue with me that they would have taken that. But if they had a defensive back, nothing but green in front of them, a defensive back behind them, right? They've beaten them on the step already. The route is straight to the end zone and the ball is thrown perfectly. That's the situation Stephon Diggs was in.
Yeah, can I give you a guy that wasn't even a big name that would have made that catch? I felt like he was really good in our era.
Marvin Harrison.
What? Well, no, Marvin Harrison was. He's one of the.
He made that catch in the Super Bowl against the Bears.
Yeah,
took it to the house.
Brandon Lloyd would have made a catch like
100%, and he would have gone. He would have gone to the fucking.
But I'm like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I don't know. But like you said, you can't be. You couldn't have the narrative saying, oh, is the window closing and. Is there strife between the quarterback and the star wide receiver?
Yeah.
And then for the last 7 to 8 games, not come out and produce.
Right. And like you're feeding that narrative, even just by not coming out and saying it's not a thing. You never heard Stephon Diggs being like, it's fine, we're fine. That's all stupid. You just heard him go like whatever the fuck, and it's like
everything is fine, and then it's like it's the fire,
right. Right. So. And it's like, people used to, the leeway we give motherfuckers now, like, especially the skill positions, like, if Terrell Owens was doing that shit, they would have been all over him.
On fire.
They would have been all over him, like, the whole fucking year. Like, they would have been all fucking over him. But guess what? He would have made the catch and he would have gone to the house with it. That's fucking different.
Totally agree. Yep.
But also, there's guys around the league. I mean, you named a guy on his team that you think would have made that play. Yeah, I mean, I can name you a few wide receiver 2s that would have made that play. T. Higgins would have made that play. You know what I mean? Like, no problem. Like, absolutely fucking no problem.
Yeah. And obviously he got hurt early.
Michael Gallup would have made that play. Sorry, go on.
I would have loved to see Joe Burrow come back one more time.
I know. And not having him in the narrative was
that's now that I think about it, that's the real rivalry. Because Burrow's not afraid. He's not. Dude. He's not afraid at the moment.
That's been the rivalry.
That's the. You know what? Let me say that back. Burrow is the Peyton Manning to him when he's healthy. It's not Josh. Josh is Big Ben, and that's okay. That's totally fine. So it's.
I mean, if he'd be lucky to be Big Ben, that's 2 chips. He's 2 chips away from being Big Ben.
No, I'm saying, but just how he plaes though. That's Big Ben.
Sure.
No, but he was the same number as this guy. Maybe he's Phillip Rivers instead. We can say Rivers. He's Rivers for now. That's fine. We say he's Phillip Rivers.
How many kids?
Maybe he's 8. I don't know.
You could tie Phillip Rivers on kids, maybe. That's the thing, though. I mean, me and Bobby have been talking about this narrative all year. It's like the wide receiver, the quarterback class right now is trash. Like Mahomes is clearly good. Like he clearly would have been in the conversation with Brady and Manning during that era, like very, very clearly, like probably above Manning after a little bit. But like that's it. fucking drops off out after him so fucking hard. Like Burrow, honestly, yeah, Burrow's sick, and like I love when he's here to like challenge Mahomes, and like Mahomes got over that hump last season, and that's big. But like they don't want that man to live in Cincinnati. They will not get motherfuckers to protect him. Like they just won't do it. They refuse. So I don't know. Like they're not using that asset properly down there. Like they treated Peyton Manning like if you didn't guard him with your life, you were off the fucking team. As well they should have. You know,
right.
Like, as well they fucking should have. It's literally their highest asset, like monetary asset. But they just won't fucking protect Joe Burrow down there. I have Carson Palmer fears for him. You know, obviously he already has surpassed him skill wise, but like I don't want to see him get fucking creamed in the pocket and just no more fucking Joe Burrow. Like Jesus Christ. On that note, in this game, like I thought the refs were missing a lot of fucking calls, dude. And it was a very, very stupid. I do lay the blame ultimately at Josh Allen's feet. It was very, very stupid to do that DeMar Hamlin fake punt run move. Like it was they did it because it was DeMar Hamlin. They did it because it would have been sick to see him make a play and get a first down. But everybody on the special teams defense was like, I think they're going to try some shit right here. Like they just immediately fucking swarmed him. I think there was one hit where that Hamlin was like involved in. He makes the tackle and the Chiefs player sits up, like kneels up, and a bill comes in and fucking hits him and they don't call it. And I'm like, okay, so now we're at the point where you're so bad at your job, I'm worried. And like DeMar Hamlin's in the frame. You know what I mean? Like he's just made a play while this play is happening. And I'm like, now I'm at the point where now like you guys being shitty at your job every week is frustrating, and it reduces the quality of the matches, and it makes it a little unfair. And I think like Green Bay is bitching a lot about like some of the stuff that was happening to them. I don't really feel bad for them, but you know, if I was in their position. But like you can't possibly not throw a flag when something like that happens. Like that's full on player safety. Did you see this play?
Yeah, I know what play you're talking about. I mean, same thing. Oh, well, this is in a regular season, but same thing with a couple years ago when they was messing with Gronk, and then Gronk, go win WWE on Tre'Davious Wright. He was out of bounds for that. I mean, but they called the flag there, but that was blatant. So that was just as blatant where Gronk did. So I don't know why.
Right. And the inconsistency is ultimately always becomes the most frustrating part of an officiating conversation, because it's like, I don't think that they're biased. Like, I don't think that they're saying like, fuck this team, now fuck this team. I think they're incompetent, and incompetence looks like bias in a situation like this, because it's like, you're always going to remember the ones that went against your team when you see the exact same shit happen and not get fucking called in other areas of the sport and other times. You know, that's fucking frustrating.
No, for sure. To me, but the beginning of the end happened in that Saints Rams game in 2018 when that dude hugged him out of bounds, hugged him, and they said, it's just it's just a football play. Really? The man hugged him out of bounds. Are you saying it's a football play? Wow. So that to me was the beginning of the end.
But then what about the calls? What about the calls like for the QBs? Like they're overprotecting the quarterback.
They gonna protect. Listen, they protect Mahomes the way they protected Peyton Manning.
Okay, but I'm genuinely after I watched the fucking Bills play the Steelers. I'm sure that Kansas City watched that game. I'm sure they reviewed that tape very fucking like in detail. Josh Allen going for a fucking fake slide to like spark that run because of like how it's called when you hit a quarterback. He's a runner. Like you've declared yourself a runner. You get to get fucking hit. For me, remove the slide, bro. There's no, like you've run past the line of scrimmage. You're a runner now. You are under all the same obligations as a runner. And if I'm the Chiefs and the opportunity didn't really arise in this game, but I honestly would be like, yo, I'm good. If I'm Andy Reid, I'm like, I'm good with 2 personal fouls today. If Josh Allen tries to do a fake slide, like you need to absolutely, like if somebody gets thrown out of the game for fucking hitting Josh Allen on a fake slide, like spearing him, I'm taking you to a fucking steak dinner. Now I don't encourage that, but that is what I would be saying to my fucking players. Like, dude,
he's not being Greg Wayne, ladies and gentlemen. He's not being Wayne with the Sean Payne. So calm down for those that hear that later on.
Listen, it was a different era, like this is where we came up. But did you ever hear that Patrice O'Neal bit where he's like, they're fucking, when somebody gets hit now in the NFL, they're all like kneeling down, saying prayers. He's like, back when I played football, the crowd would be like, he's paralyzed. He'd be like, we're not kneeling. We'd be like, yeah, Yeah, we did that shit.
That's right.
Anyway, my point being, it's like it's very inconsistent. Like a quarterback's life is worth more than the life of a fucking random wide receiver 4 just because
Yeah, when they
you
paying
didn't
five
catch it at
five
first.
million dollars. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. I
No,
thought
I agree. I agree, but that's just what it is. So
no, I understand it's a fact of life, but I just thought that late hit I just thought was so disgusting. Like just as a football play, like it's the closest thing that like I think you can get to when you hit a guy when he's in the air when you're watching a basketball game or you're playing basketball when you fucking intentionally lower your shoulder into somebody when he's up by the fucking hoop. It's like an unwritten rule. Like everybody in the park's gonna be like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, why did you do that? Like, he's fucking hurt now. Oh, probably. Like it's come on, guys, have a little fucking respect for the game and respect for the man's fucking health and career. Don't do that shit." And it went swept under the rug. That's the annoying part to me. Like I think in New York they should be able to be like, hey, like you got to throw a fucking flag for that. At least. I thought I was going to see him ejected, to be perfectly honest with you.
yeah, and it blows my mind because I'm like Troy Vincent is like high up in the NFL ranks as far as the office. Troy Vincent was one of the hardest hitting individuals.
The hardest hitting is safety in the league, Darren Sharp.
Yeah, he played him and Dawkins played with. I'm like, how have you gotten this soft?
Right.
That's where I'm at. How have you gotten this off, Troy? How? When I said y'all was laying out motherfuckers on a weekly basis. You and Brian Dawkins were y'all was sending people home, and you have a nerve to be this soft. You Jeremiah Trotter, that defense in the early 2000s, y'all was sending people home.
Who was
y'all was ending?
Who is your safety? Who is the Patriots safety that went to the Bears that was just like such a dirty fucking player? What was his name?
Oh,
I can never. Yeah. So Merriweather basically comes to the Bears the year that they start cracking down on those on those rules. Like I was like, we got fucking Brandon Merriweather. Yes, dude, he's gonna fucking fuck some guys up.
He would have been a top 10 guy had the rules not changed.
Oh, 100%.
That was a big part of his game. So,
but you didn't want to come near him. Like he made motherfuckers like not want to come near him. But it was all tied into like that bounty scandal was a big part of it. There was the sort of Tom Brady was out for that one season, and yeah, that was an ankle. Like
it was a Chiefs player. It was against Kansas City Chiefs.
Right. Right. And it's like that kind of stuff. They were like, all right, what's our product without Tom Brady in it? What's our fucking product without Tom Brady in it? Like, this is fucking annoying. But like, instead of changing the fucking rules, how about teams are just competent? Like my Burrow example. Like, just keep your fucking quarterback healthy. It's not, you can, like Mike McDaniel took a fucking Tua, whose skull is apparently made of glass, and just kept him safe for a whole season. Just kept him safe for a whole fucking season. How did he do it? He was like, well, if my quarterback gets hit, his brain is going to melt in his head. So I need to get him to release the ball very, very quickly, and I need to give him a lot of time. I need to do both of those things so he never gets creamed for the entire season. The fucking Bengals didn't do that, and that, quite frankly, is an absolute abortion of justice. Like it's gross. Like they should be reprimanded by the league. Like if the league is going to get mad that their product is getting hurt, and we didn't get Joe Burrow this season, which made this season not as good. It should, like, just what you were just saying about the playoff game. Like, there's no Joe Burrow in the conversation, and quite frankly, he was turning the season for the fucking Bengals around. He was doing that Joe Burrow thing. He was like, right, they were on the come up. They would have made the playoffs. I guarantee it. They almost did without
him. For sure. and they would have been a tough out because like we've seen him now in the postseason. We know he's not going to shy away from the moment. And once again, he's the only quarterback in the AFC that does not have any fear. He's won at Arrowhead. He's won at
he's what they all thought Baker Mayfield was going to be.
Twice. Yeah, exactly.
Been saying that,
Yeah, so what I'm saying? So it's just like, and you knew it meant something to them because they were so hyped when they beat him last year.
Right.
So
right. Yeah, that was like Mahomes overcame the big like bugaboo in his career. Like, was Joe Burrow going to come here? Was he going to be the Mahomes killer every year? Was, oh no, Pat did it. He did it. He made it to the Super Bowl. He's definitely winning it now.
I'll take for next year. I think he does it again next year. I think he comes in next year and beats him.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised
at all. So
he's a competitor. I love that guy. I do think that they need to make some shrewd choices in the offseason that they didn't do last year. I think that they're coasting on Burrow a little bit. It's giving me Andrew Luck vibes at times,
Mhm.
and it's annoying me. And I need them to like just be smart about the product that they have, because let me tell you, it sucks to not have a good quarterback, and not everybody has a good quarterback. In fact, most people don't.
Right.
So, think about that when you don't finish your dinner next time, whatever the analogy should be. So, Chiefs, Ravens, Lions, 49ers. I personally I have the Ravens and I have the Lions. And we can talk about the Lions and the Niners first if you want, because that's probably a hotter take. I'm not going to put any money on the Ravens and the Chiefs because I'm not betting against Patrick Mahomes. I just have a feeling that the Ravens are going to win, but I don't want to be on the other end of a Mahomesing. So I'm not going to put any dollars anywhere near that game. But I do
Gotcha.
think the Lions are, like you kind of alluded to it, like the Lions are a little bit of a heater. Like they have that weird playoff momentum, like the nobody believes in us team. And I think, and the 49ers do not look good. Like they look legitimately sloppy. So, and they went through multiple game skids, like one multiple game skid this season, right? That's basically what they had, but it was a multiple game skid. So that's to say they could come out in the championship game and fucking lay an egg. And if they do what they did, if they do what even close to what they did against the Packers, I think the fucking Lions are winning this game. However, you can really move the fucking ball against this Lions defense if we're really like narratives aside. If they get Debo back, I don't know. I don't know. I think they might absolutely fucking shred them up now that I think about it. now that I
Yeah,
think about it in football terms.
Debo coming back is huge, but if he's labored in any sense, Aaron Glenn, who was a longtime corner in this league and now has done some good work as the defensive coordinator for the Lions, they're gonna pin their ears back and just gonna go after Purdy. And yes, you still have McCaffrey, you still have Kittle, you still have Ayuk.
I
Um,
mean, McCaffrey looked like he was having like a hard running day against the Packers. He wasn't like breaking off for a ton, but he still put like 100 yards and 2 TDs up. It's
right,
like it's
exactly. So think about that. Had it off night, but still was able to get to that number. So yeah, so obviously the playmakers are still there, but like I said, Debo is the guy. He's not a guy, he's the guy over there. So yeah, so I mean, I have San Francisco winning, but I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit won. And it's funny, right? We I think we talked about this right after, or it probably was you and Bob because you guys usually carry the football season with the Power Breaker show. So stay tuned for that as we go into next season. But that Chiefs Lions game to open up the year was really good, and it's forgotten because it was week 1. But that Thursday night opener, Chiefs Lions coming in and winning what 21 to
they
20.
won. Yeah, they won by a point. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a really good game early on, and people say, "Oh, it was a fluke," and da da da. Well, it wasn't a fluke to them because, like I said, they went 12-5, and now they're a game away from being in the Super Bowl. So, for those that underestimate a Week 1 win and what that can do for your season, look to that game there.
Yeah. Good
Um,
point.
then obviously, Baltimore smacked Detroit a few weeks later, right? Baltimore smacks Detroit, and so I feel like I don't want to see that twice because I've run to watch a competitive game. I know both teams are better since then, but I'd rather see a close game in the championship. So that's that. But I'm leaning towards both one teams making it, meaning Baltimore and San Francisco. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kansas City, Detroit, in the Super Bowl either.
I think the thing about the Ravens this year for me specifically, and the reason why I'm a little higher on them, like I never really want to go against Pat Mahomes, like I said, but they smacked so many contenders this year. Like they really beat a lot of the big boys. And like when they beat them handily. So they just kind of look like a big game team to me. Like they just look like adults, And I said that about their divisional round game. They came in and they just did the adult thing. They just won like fucking grown-ups. They look like a team that's like they're going to the fucking Super Bowl. And the
Right.
Chiefs, I think when you have a down year and a great team, and I think we saw a couple of years of Patriots teams like this, you can have a great QB get you so far, but you need a couple more elements. And I think when you come up against a team like Brady was able to take less than serviceable teams and win championships with them. 2018, you referenced already on this show,
Mhm.
but the I think those years have to happen where a lot of kind of serendipity is on your side and you have this baller QB. It has like, all right, Pat did a lot with a little that season written all over it, which is see the Ravens in the championship game and lose. That to me feels like what this Chiefs season is shaping up to be in what I've seen in sort of iterations of great teams of the past. I could be wrong, but the Ravens just look really, really, really hard to beat. And the problem is I think that the Chiefs kind of have to Greco-Roman wrestle you. They have to sort of drag you into a specific type of game where like they're long drives and they're, death by 1,000 cuts and oh shit, then like one run breaks off, then another breaks off and like loud first downs, right time of game. I don't know if the Ravens are going to get dictated to like that. I don't think that they're going to like let you. I think it's going to be their game from the first quarter, and I think the Chiefs are going to be playing catch up. But then again, Pat Mahomes, as far as the 49ers Lions go, I think health is going to be the biggest factor, which I think we knew was going to happen with this 49ers team coming into crunch time in the season. Obviously Christian McCaffrey has to play the whole game. Brock Purdy has to be protected, but most importantly, I really think Deebo Samuel needs to come back in and needs to be, like you said, not hobbling 100%. If that's the case, I would lean 49ers. If not, I would probably lean Lions, but it remains to be seen. Great. I mean, it was a great day of divisional football. There's only 4 teams left in it. I think all 4 teams deserve to be here. I like that I didn't have a divisional round where I was like, oh my God, do I even know anything about any of these teams? Like basically everyone I thought was going to win won. That's what happens when you get to this level of the playoffs. Like your wins become losses and your losses become wins. It's the witching hour. You have to put up or shut up. And that's especially true of the conference championship. The Super Bowl fucking can go any which way. That's just a crazy game. You don't know what's going to happen in that game. But conference championship, you got to go out there. You got to be the better team. So I'm really looking forward to watching these 4 teams slug it out. I really enjoyed. I'd love to hear your thought. What was your favorite game of the weekend that we just watched?
Definitely the Bills Chiefs.
It was right. It just felt like a classic game of football.
Yeah, especially because you wanted to see could Josh Allen get it done this time.
Right. It had everything. It had everything.
By far that one. And,
I really enjoyed it. Which one are you more looking forward to going into this weekend?
The 49ers Lions.
Yeah, it's got a little juice. Both are good though.
Obviously, because the Mahomes and Lamar, that's going to be an obvious choice, I think, for many. But to see, like, I want to see how Goff and Purdy how they match up and how that goes.
Yeah.
Again, we talked. I talked about on a different platform, but both Chase Young has not been the guy over there in San Francisco.
I don't think he was the asset that they thought he was when they
he hasn't been
post injury. I just don't know if he's the guy that drafted
Aiden Hutchison, who was the number 2 pick a few years back. Well, he might have been number 1. He went number 2.
Great pick.
Yeah, he seems to be primed and ready. Like everything they thought Chase Young was going to be, that's what he's doing over there. He is a Michigan guy, so I think that all
a lot of people are making the Lions argument for like in the various Bears situations I'm in. Like a lot of people are making the Lions argument for like they traded a high pick for a haul and then they got like Hutchinson and they got this and they got that. Like maybe we keep Fields and build around him. Like they had Jared Goff, like they can make Jared Goff good. Like there's been a lot of that in the subreddits and the chat rooms. For me, I'm like, go get fucking Caleb Williams, please. Like just go fucking get him. Just do the smart thing. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that all of that is very true. Like the edge rushing battle, the Lions win strangely, which you wouldn't have thought going into this matchup. I just worry about their ability to get the ball moved on them on the ground, and I think the 49ers are really good at that. Like they're gonna those like that kind of game, screen passes, zone runs, like that's gonna cut the fucking Lions apart, right? Like it is though, isn't it? Like it's gonna be a shootout, so it is gonna be probably the more fun game to watch. But yeah, more of a chess match maybe in the early game, and maybe a little bit of an Old West gunfight in the later game. So it's been me, DK Sizzle. It's been Hollywood Ray. It's been Missing the Point, and it's been a pleasure talking about this sport for your lovely ears. Until next week, when we do our post-conference championship chat and our pre-Super Bowl chat, I will see you then.